Good evening and welcome again to the 2020 Candidates Forum. For those of you that are just joining us, I'm Denise Domke, the President and CEO of the West Sacramento Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber is pleased to be able to continue to offer the opportunity for committed local residents, each of them willing to serve our community in elected office, to provide the opportunity for them to respectfully explain their positions on issues important to both residents and the business community. Tonight's moderator is our 2020 Board Chair, Chelsea Miner. Chelsea serves as Corporate Director of Public Affairs with Raley's, a legacy business in our community with several big operations. Chelsea serves as the company's spokesperson and handles external affairs and government relations. She's no stranger to political issues impacting our region and our state. Thank you for joining us this evening, and thank you for your engagement in this community tradition.
Good evening and welcome back to our viewers on Facebook Live. We're excited to have you with us. We've already completed Washington Unified School District Area 2. We are moving into our Washington Unified School District Area 3, and we ask that you stick around for 7 p.m. for our West Sacramento mayoral candidates. So let's move into Area 3. This covers neighborhoods including Brightway Island, Meadowdale, Evergreen, West Acres, and parts of our central city. The district elementary schools include Brightway Elementary. Bridgeway. Thank you. I apologize. Yolo High, Heritage Peak Charter School, and Sacramento Valley Charter School. The candidates that are on stage today were randomly selected prior to the start of today's forum. I'm going to start with my candidates on the left, Kobe Pizzotti, and on our right, Tiffany Mcfadden. I want to welcome you guys. Thank you for being here in person this evening. I'm going to start by going over tonight's forum's rules. Let me start by reminding you that this is a forum and not a debate. We ask that you address the online audience and not each other directly, and do not talk while the others are speaking. We intend to ask you thoughtful questions and receive thoughtful responses. I'm going to rotate the order in which I ask each of you questions so that you each will have an opportunity to answer first. Prior to each question, I will indicate how much time is allowed per question. And we will have a timekeeper who will provide you a 30-second warning, a 15-second warning, giving you a time that start to wrap things up, and we'll hold up a stop sign when your time is complete. If necessary, I will politely interrupt and tell you that you've exceeded your time. To help our voters watching this forum, we need to draw contrasts between the two of you. We encourage you to be specific when answering our questions, offer clear solutions, and avoid repeating each other. When necessary, I may ask you to give us a brief clarification to advise or help the voters at home. Now, those are the ground rules. Are we ready to get started? Yes. Great. We're going to begin with opening statements from each of you. You will have a minute and a half to introduce yourself to our online audience. Give them a little bit about your background and explain why you are running for Washington Unified School District Area 3. We will begin with candidate 1, Kobe.
Thank you, and I want to say thank you, Chelsea and the West Sacramento Chamber for hosting this event and giving us this tremendous opportunity to get our message out. Just a little bit about me. I grew up as a child of a single mom in which we survived on welfare and food stamps in a very poor community in Hayward, California. Unfortunately, my mother became addicted to drugs when I was 7. I went to live with my father when I was 12 years old, and then he passed away when I was 16. I didn't get along with my stepmother, and I was kicked out of the house, becoming homeless for the remainder of my senior year. Now, I don't say this for sympathy. I say this because many of our students in our school district face the same challenges that I went through. So I have a complete and utter passion for trying to help and bring the changes they need in order to become successful students. Additionally, I'm a small business owner in Sacramento, and I provide services to business services and association services to a union of psychiatric nurses. I do everything from budgeting to lobbying to collective bargaining for them. I think this has been a tremendous asset on our school board, and it's helped us in the 5 years that I've been there.
Great, thank you, time's up. Candidate Mcfadden.
Hi, thank you, Chelsea. And thank you to the West Sacramento Chamber of Commerce for hosting the event. And thank you to the community who is participating virtually. I'm Tiffany Mcfadden, and I'm running for WUSD School Board in Trustee Area 3. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm not a politician. I'm a parent. In 2013, my family actually chose to move to West Sacramento specifically because of the schools. I have two amazing daughters who have spent the bulk of their school career in WUSD schools and are currently students at River City High School as a freshman and a senior. Over the years, I have dedicated hundreds of hours to volunteering in both our community and in our schools. I have also worked as a classified substitute in the past for WUSD, and this gave me the opportunity to work at almost every school site in our district and see firsthand some of the inequities and division that exists. This means that I have a vested interest in what is best for all of our schools. And this is what motivated me to decide to run for school board. I want to help the inequities, I want to help end the inequities that exist and unify our schools. I want to unify the parents, the teachers, and the staff so that we have one supportive unit for our students. I also want to see improved support for both our LGBTQ youth and our students with mental health issues. They deserve to feel safe, supported, and accepted. Today, I humbly ask you to support me for school board in Trustee Area 3. As a parent, I have spent 14 years of my life putting my child first. I ask you for the opportunity for me to do the same for your children. Thank you.
Great. Thank you both. Let's start with your candidacy and what makes you the best candidate for Washington Unified School District, especially in the newly drawn districts, right, for Area 3, that as you think about both the future challenges but also the current challenges around COVID. We'll start with you, Candidate Mcfadden.
Hi, thank you, Chelsea. I feel like I bring a unique perspective to the school board. One of the things that is unique is that I am a parent of high school students. And I feel that sometimes the high school isn't focused on a lot. So I think that gives a unique perspective. I also have, as I mentioned, I've put extensive hours into volunteering in our schools. And through that, I have had the opportunity to meet and converse with lots of different students in our district. Lots of students who come from varied backgrounds. And I just feel like that is a very unique perspective. And I also feel that, I also feel that we need change. I think change is a good thing, and I think that I can bring some unique viewpoints, and I think that that's needed on our board. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Candidate Pisati.
Yeah, so the reason why I believe I'm the best candidate is because I've been on the board for 5 years, and I've developed a very strong relationship with our other colleagues on the board. We have now developed a collaborative team that works together with a very cohesive mission and vision. And that's part of what a board is supposed to do, is set vision and policies and pick a new superintendent because that's coming down the road. You know, we have some very challenging times coming ahead of us, and I think it's going to take experience and a consistency in leadership to get us through those, to navigate us through those challenging waters that are facing us. And I think we've done that on the board so far with some of our policies and making some tough decisions. And I think right now what we need is experience to do that going forward.
Great. So Washington Unified School District is currently 100% virtual for our learning, given the complexities and challenges around COVID. With due respect to understanding the process, that has to be that Yolo County would be involved in this. Just from your sitting as a potential school board member, thinking about that other area school districts are opening and some are anxious to get back into the classroom, give us an understanding of if you believe that we should remain remote, or on the flip side of it, do you believe that the students should come back at an expedited rate back to instruction? If the answer is that they should remain virtual, talk to us a little bit about the resources and support that is needed to equitably reach all of our students. And then if the answer is no, that you think we should get back into classroom as fast as possible, talk to us about how you believe we should be ensuring safety. For this question, just given the complexities, we'll give you 2 minutes to talk about both your position and then what services would be necessary. We'll start with you, Candidate Pisati.
Yeah, so This question really only has one answer, and that's we'll come back when it's safe. And we're going to work with the Yolo County Health Department. We're going to work with, CDC guidelines. We're not coming back until it's safe for everyone to come back, not just our students, but also our teachers and our staff. We cannot jeopardize anybody. We cannot jeopardize any of our families. We cannot jeopardize any of our employees. There's just no way we can do that. So, having said that, we are starting to move from the purple to the red in terms of what the state guidelines are for reopening. And right now, we can have small cohorts of in-person instruction, and we've prioritized who's coming back for in-person small cohorts. And these are students with special needs, homeless and foster youth that have an equity lens to it that we need to establish. So we do have the ability to bring back some, but very small groups. And that's where we're starting to move into as we move into the red. As we go down into the orange, that's when we can bring in the hybrid learning. Once we get into the yellow, that's where it'll be traditional school again. But I don't know how long that's going to take. I don't think anybody knows how long that's going to take. And I certainly think it would be inappropriate for schools to open up any time before that.
Great. Thank you. As a follow-up to that, share with me, as we think about safety and bringing students back, you said some students are currently in the classroom. What are those safety measures that are of a priority to you as you think about in-person instruction?
Well, I didn't say some kids are currently in the classroom. We're doing assessments right now, individual assessments. Okay. As we move into the red, we can bring back cohorts, but we just moved into the red, I believe, yesterday. Okay. So we're not there yet. We're still gauging and developing a plan for that on how we're going to bring them back. In fact, we'll be addressing that tonight in a special school board meeting. So can you repeat that last part?
So share with me, regardless of the timing of it,
Sure.
What are those safety measures that are of top priority to you in bringing
Absolutely.
those students back?
So we're going to have to set up protocols in place. And we've kind of already developed this when we were looking at whether or not we send kids to school, or are we going to go to a hybrid model in July when we made the decision to not send kids to school. One of the things we did was we've established when kids come back, they're going to have to wear masks. They're going to have to answer they're going to have to answer a kind of a battery of questions. Have you had any of these symptoms? They're going to have to take temperatures. We're going to have to socially distance. So we're going to have to make sure that we produce all those protocols, as well as when we come back, it's going to be in a blended or a hybrid model where only half of the class can come back at a time. So maybe Monday and Wednesday, one group of 12 will come back. Tuesday, Thursday, another group of 12 will come back. And then Friday will be 100% virtual. So this is the type of plan that we've already established. Now it's just a matter of whether or not it's safe for us to implement these plans.
Thank you. Do you need me to repeat the initial question?
No.
Well, then great. The floor is yours, Candidate Mcfadden.
Yes, so I also agree that we need to stay in virtual learning until it is safe, to transition. I believe that once we begin transitioning back to school, even if they said we somehow jumped from red to yellow and could open up full force, like overnight, I think that the safest way to do that is to bring kids back in small groups, such as the small cohorts that were mentioned. And I think that those need to be prioritized not just by special needs and foster and homeless, but I think we need to prioritize some of the students who are experiencing the greatest learning loss. Because during distance learning, my girls, it's going great. I mean, we are fortunate that both of my girls are doing really well. I am not naive. I understand that that is not everybody's truth. And I think we need to make sure that we're prioritizing who is experiencing the greatest learning loss. One of my daughters is a foster daughter. She would be prioritized. I, as a parent, would not send her back to school to open up a spot for somebody who needs it more. As kids are going back to school, I think PPE is going to be extremely important. One of the things that we're going to have to make sure happens is the cleaning and disinfecting. We need to make sure that desks are being wiped down. We need to make sure that door handles are being wiped down, not knocked down. But we need to make sure that those high-touch areas are being cleaned. And I think for the foreseeable future, after kids start going back, that we need to consider keeping them together so you are minimizing their exposure.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So as a follow-up to that, considering just the extended virtual learning that we're talking about here, we hear time and time again, of course, both parents and students alike that are struggling, right? So not the tangible items like the Chromebooks or the internet access, but whether that be emotional, whether that be physical wellness, all of those types of things. Talk to me about your priorities as it relates to resources to support those individuals to bridge that gap or that learning loss as you've referenced already. We'll start with you, Candidate Mcfadden.
Thank you. I believe one of the greatest resources that we have that can help with those non-tangibles are some of our classified staff, especially our outreach specialists. Our outreach specialists are there. They can check on the students, on the families. And it's about, like you said, making sure we're checking on the whole family. The students aren't the only ones struggling. I think it is important to remember that everybody has different needs. So some families are going to need more assistance than others. And it also might be connecting them with food banks if access to healthy food is a problem. I think it's really just figuring out what their greatest need is and meeting that need. And it doesn't necessarily mean that the school is going to meet the need, but we can connect them to the resources in the community, our local businesses that are there to help.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Candidate Pizzotti.
Yeah, so we have this, thing called multi-tiered systems of support. And so that doesn't deal with just the academic need of a student, it deals with the social and emotional needs as well. And we're going to prioritize that in terms of every student at the bottom rung of that MTSS pyramid, right? Every student has the basic needs met. But as we kind of assess where the kids are and what they need, they climb up the level in terms of equity and where do they need where do the needs go, where do we need to go to provide the resources the most? And what we've been doing is working with the county, Yolo County Mental Health Department to provide services and resources to the families that absolutely need them. And there are struggling families out there. We have to understand that this pandemic doesn't just hit, the rich, the non-rich. It hits everybody, right? It hits everybody.
I'm going to have to give you your time's up. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, we'll move on to the next question, shifting gears just to general priorities for the district. So kind of separate of managing COVID, what do you believe are the top 3 issues that the district is facing? And with your candidacy, how would you propose implementing some changes to address those top 3 issues? So we'll start with you, Candidate Mcfadden.
Hi. Not to question you, but I did take that last question first.
Oh, thank you. I had it as being here.
I don't want to be unfair.
Nope.
Yeah,
Thank you for that catch.
comes to me.
Thank you. We will start
You
with
want to
you.
read that again, please?
Yeah, you bet. So separate of COVID, right?
Yeah.
Realizing that is a challenge in and of itself. In your belief, what are those top 3 issues that are facing the district? And with your candidacy, how would you, propose to remedy those things as you think about your upcoming year?
Sure. Our number 1 issue right this very second is our responsibility of finding a new superintendent. Myself and my board colleagues are, we share the same vision in finding a superintendent that shares the values of the community. That's our number 1 priority right now, and we must take care of that. The next is virtual learning and connectivity with technology issues that we're facing in this district. Chromebooks are breaking. We have, wave broadband going down and then AT&T going down. These connectivity issues are shortening days for kids. Getting kicked off of Google or Zoom time and time again is shortening a kid's time in the classroom. And that's definitely a challenge for us. That's something that we have to address and continue to work on. And then to wrap this all up, equity. We have to provide the resources where we need them or where the kids need them most. So, because equity is going to be involved in everything we do. The board has made it a decision to look at everything we do through a lens of equity. And so those are the top 3 things that we are going to be doing going forward.
Candidate McFadden.
Thank you. I absolutely believe that the superintendent search is a number 1 priority currently, since that will be complete prior to the whoever wins the election. My priority would be in bonding with the superintendent and getting to know them, because I won't have had the advantage of doing that throughout the process of interviewing and the selection process. So it would be building that relationship, because the relationship between the superintendent and the school board is extremely important. Also, I know I just keep saying it, equity. It is such a problem. As a classified substitute, prior classified substitute, I'm not currently employed by the school district. I worked at every school site except for Bright and YOLO. I worked at all of our other WUSD schools, and I saw firsthand some of the inequities that are happening there. I saw kids at some schools that just had such a need for feeling like they belonged to something that they would gravitate toward anybody. They didn't know me, but they came and they talked to me because I saw them and they just wanted to be seen. And I think that is just something that's so important in every decision. I also believe that we really need to work on unifying our districts. We need to find ways for there to be less of a division between North Side and South Side schools, between North Side and South Side students, to prepare them to come together at River City as classmates. So that's something that I think we need to focus on.
Great, thank you. I'm going to shift gears and be here on the fly, because both of you have talked a lot about equity. And so I want to dig in a little bit deeper. So I'm going to give you a minute and a half for this one, knowing that this is very important to both of you. So first and foremost will be, you both talk about inequities. What are those inequities that you've identified, either in your experience or your research or your conversations with folks? How do you want to start by addressing those inequities? And then if we flash forward some time, how would you measure the success? What are those types of things that you're going to look for that says, hey, we've made an incredible move in this direction to make all students have both equal access? So we will start with candidate McFadden.
Thank you. My personal experience, the inequities I have seen start in our facilities. If you look at Westmore Oaks, if you look at Elkhorn, if you look at Riverbank, you definitely see a difference in the facilities there versus what the facilities look like at Stonegate and Southport and Bridgeway. And you also see that they don't all have the same offerings. For example, electives. The schools don't all have the same electives offered. So schools that have more electives give those kids a leg up. And I'm talking obviously for middle school, it gives them an unfair advantage going into high school. I think our electives need to be consistent across the district. I think make sure our curriculum is consistent throughout the district. And I think we need to make sure that our curriculum is diverse so that those students are seeing themselves in what they're being taught. And I think the way we evaluate that in the future is we look at the achievement gap. Because if you look at our achievement gap, it's the low income students, it's the foster, it's the homeless, it's the people of color. We need to close that achievement gap, and seeing that shrink would be the measure of success.
Yeah, so every student deserves an up-to-date, modern, clean, safe, 21st century classroom. But unfortunately, not every student has that. And when we looked at our facilities, the board did, we went through and we took a hard look. We did equity walks. We did, teacher or principal for the days, and actually went through to see which campus had different needs. And we decided to develop a facilities master plan. And in doing so, we realized there is tremendous need for new facilities at Westfield, Elkhorn, Riverbank, Westmore Oaks. This is how we're going to address the equity issue, and it's one of the top priorities for this board to do, is to pass Measure Z, because we, the board, put Measure Z on the ballot as a means to address these years and decades long of neglect that has happened to those poor schools. And the kids that need it the most, the kids that need the most amount of resources, are going to school in the most rundown schools. That's not equitable. That's not fair. That's unconscionable is what it is. And we need to change that. And this board has really stepped up and decided that's where we're heading.
Great. Let's stick on that topic. I think you bring
Great.
up a great point. So you were a part of the decision to put the bond measure on the ballot. For those listening at home, Measure Z is on your ballot for the November election and authorizes $150 million in a general obligation bond for school facility improvements, construction, and modernization. So, of course, the first question is, do you support Measure Z? So give us a sense of why that is and why you think that's necessary.
I pretty much just answered it because I, of course, do support Measure Z. I was one of the 5 other people that put Measure Z on the ballot. When we adopted our facilities master plan, we found out that there was portable classrooms that are 50 years old. That's 25 years past their lifespan. I mean, that's shocking. That's absolutely shocking. We have kids that are, like I said, going to school in the most run-down of schools, and it's not appropriate. It's absolutely not appropriate. Those are the kids that need the most services, and they need the most in the way of resources, and yet they're not having 21st century classrooms with up-to-date labs or any of the necessary technology. This is just something that we had to fix, and so we are going to fix it.
Time's up. Thank you. Candidate Mcfadden.
Thank you. Yes, I also support Measure Z because, as I've talked about the inequities that I have witnessed firsthand, we need the money for Measure Z to be able to give those students what they need and what they deserve, the things that they should have already had. We absolutely need to upgrade our facilities, improve technology. I'm excited to see that some of that money is going to engineering, arts, and math, as well as 21st century hands-on instruction. I think many kids learn better hands-on. So I am very excited to see that the money is going there. I do know that part of Measure Z includes a certain amount of money off the top that can be used to pay off old debt. I am hoping if Measure Z passes, when Measure Z passes, that we will consider not taking that money away and being able to use all the funds for Measure Z on the improvements that need made.
Great. Thank you. So shifting gears, another topic that's come up from both of you is that our superintendent is retiring in January 2021. The board, we know, has hired a national firm that will help search for the superintendent. And with recognition that you're not in the hot seat, Candidate Mcfadden, but just as you think about what does the district need, What are those qualities that you think are available and an opportunity for us to prioritize as we worked through that process? We will start with you.
Thank you. I believe one of the biggest assets in our future superintendent is, for one, that they view our district through an equity lens as our board does, and as that, we've mentioned repeatedly that's how the direction our district is going. I also feel that transparency and communication are key. We need to make sure that the superintendent is connecting not only with students, teachers, staff, and parents, but even with our community. Our schools need the support of our community, even those community members who may not currently have kids in school. Maybe they have grandkids. Maybe they've never had kids in school. We still need to make sure that we have that. And I think transparency and communication are the best ways to do that. I also feel that it is extremely important for them to just be available and approachable so that people feel comfortable going and speaking to them.
Great, thank you. Same question to you.
Yeah, so we've already established the criteria that the search firm is using when they're going to be doing their interviews and bringing the candidates for superintendent in. Some of the things that we've talked about with the search firm is we want somebody with experience. We basically want another Superintendent Luna. If you can just find her, all of her leadership examples and list them somewhere, that's what we want. But we need somebody with a proven track record of success. We need somebody who's willing to be collaborative with our union partners, with our city. We want to continue to have and develop a great relationship with our city so we can partner, especially with the business community. We have...
Round that out. Sorry, time is up, but I'm going to kick it back to you. So
Okay.
If you want to close it all up together,
Yeah.
you are more than welcome. So the next thought around the superintendent specifically is flash forwarding and really what's that proven record. So talk to me about, what are those measures for success that you will be looking at that will be important to you as you think about their first 365 days in their leadership role.
Right. So one of the things that is the board's responsibility is to evaluate the superintendent. So we have the responsibility of being, the employer of a superintendent. Then we have to evaluate that superintendent. And what we're going to ask the superintendent to do, as well as what we will do, is we're going to set goals for the superintendent once we onboard, right? Once we bring the superintendent on staff and get them acclimated, we're going to set goals for that superintendent. The superintendent then, in a year's time, will give us continued updates on where they will be, where they've come, and what they've accomplished so far, and then we will provide a final evaluation as whether or not they've met their goals, and have they met the benchmarks that we've set for them. So, and that's something that basically every board does.
I'm going to ask you to be a little bit more specific.
Sure.
And what's important to you around what are those metrics? Can you give us maybe one or two examples that are of importance to you that you think the superintendent should focus on and be measured on?
Well, one of those metrics to me that I think is important to me is maintaining an open door policy and maintaining an open relationship with our labor union, because we've had years of unrest prior to my coming on the board, but in the 5 years' time that I've been here, we've now developed a wonderful, harmonious relationship with the unions. We need to make sure that our superintendent continues that relationship. So that's a good metric for me. The next part would be is making sure that the equity that this board has set forth as a goal of our own is continued to work through by showing the leadership of the superintendent and how the superintendent hires people and staff. We went from having about 15% of administration staff that was of people of color, and then now once Linda Luna is now leaving, 48%.
Great.
That's a value to us as a board. That is
I'm
the
gonna have to
board's
cut you off.
value.
I'm sorry, we're out of time.
Sorry.
I know, it's quick.
I can go on.
So back to the original question around, 365 days, what are those metrics specifically that you're looking for that you would want that would be deemed successful?
One of the things that would be very important to me and goes to the equity of it is the achievement gap, which I've mentioned a few times. I've been on the dashboards. I've seen the data. I've seen that our people of color, our homeless, our foster, our Northside schools, they just score lower. We need to find ways to close that gap. So finding ways to close the achievement gap and helping lift those students up would be one of the metrics that I would like to see as a goal that is set. I also would be interested to see or would want to have part of that be budget, because we are going to have budget shortfalls coming up, and there are going to be a lot of tough decisions made. And while the budget is ultimately approved by the board, it is brought to the board by the superintendent. So I think they need to find outside of the box ways to save money.
Great.
Thank you.
So let's move into our business community. As the chair, I'm proud to work with superintendent. They have an ex officio board seat, so there's some great collaboration. Talk to me about the role that you believe the business community in the school district has, and how would you strengthen that role over the time of your service? We'll start with you, candidate Fasadi.
Yeah, so first of all, I would love, I say thank you to our relationship as a board. Do you want to go?
No.
Was she?
No, go.
Okay. Do I get my time back?
Yes.
Okay. Are we good? Okay. So I would like to say thank you to the business community for partnering with the district on many different fronts. But as a chamber member, I'd like to say that you've helped us tremendously through the Kids Home Run program and providing internships. But I would say this also, I challenge the business community to provide more internships, because that is an opportunity for our kids to grow and to gain those skills that you can't teach in school necessarily. That is something that I think is very powerful, especially when you get the soft skills, right? And that's something that we've seen in terms of our kids coming back from those internships. So that's one of our great opportunities, and I'd like to say thank you to the business community for providing those opportunities to us. But I challenge you to do more. Provide us with more openings. Get us more opportunities for second base on our Kids Home Run program.
Great. Candidate McFadden.
Thank you. I think that we have great support. The individual schools and the district as a whole have great support from our businesses in our community. And one of the ways you can see that is just drive past the high school and look at the banners for all of our local businesses. And I know as a community member, that's something that matters to me. When I see the local businesses investing in our schools, I'm going to choose to go to those businesses either for their goods or services, whatever it is that they provide. I also love that our local businesses work with Yolo County Children's Alliance and the WIOA program that helps our foster youth be able to get jobs and be able to get those life skills. My foster daughter is currently part of that program, and it's just been amazing for her. So I think that we do a very good job of partnering with our business community, and I just urge us to foster that relationship and keep it going.
Great. Thank you. So as a nationally recognized program, Second Base provides many of the things that you both have just talked about around valuable skills that, of course, as a business community, we hope that leaves them here in the community of West Sacramento and leads them to a profitable and exciting career. So how would you propose that we expand that program so more students have access to the Second Base program? We will start with you, Candidate McFadden.
I believe that the best way that we can do that is to make sure we are getting the information out to the students and make sure we're meeting them at their comfort level. It might not be, an assembly might not be the best way for them to learn about it. A phone call, an email might not be the best way. Maybe at the high school, somebody sets up during lunch, stays for early and late lunch, obviously once we're able to return to school, and the kids are able to go up and talk one-on-one. And maybe it's even just the businesses who are doing those internships just opening up their doors for the kids to come see exactly what they would, exactly what they would be able to do. But I think it's just really important to make sure we're getting that information to them in the way that they really hear it, and communicating to them in the way that is best received by them.
Thank you.
Thank
Candidate Pizzotti.
Yeah, thank you. So I think one of the things I would agree that outreach is necessary, and we certainly need to do a great job of reaching out to the businesses as well as the students and parents to let them know what's available. I think much like we have job fairs at colleges and things like that, a job fair for internships in our community would be great, once we come back to school. And then potentially even doing a virtual job fair would be another idea in which we can, integrate some of our jobs that kids can be doing virtually for our businesses, So I think those are some interesting ideas that, we might be able to toss around and work with our chamber and work with our business leaders to see what we can develop.
We're very proud that we were able to at least continue Second Base to a
Right.
point, even virtually, and provide those internships. So
Absolutely.
definitely
We
more great work
appreciate
to be
that.
done. All right, next question. Kind of staying on this career technical education topic, we've seen great success with programs like the Bright Culinary Program. What other CTE programs do you believe are important to help us reach some of those future workforce needs that would be in our community? And we'll start with you, Candidate Pizzotti.
Yeah, so there's so many great opportunities out there, and I want to say we've really made it a priority to make CTE pathways something that we prioritize. You mentioned the Bright Culinary Academy. We have the Northern California Construction Trades at the Bright campus. We have a biomed. Program. We have at the school. We have engineering and robotics program at the high school. I want to personally develop. Not personally develop it, but I want our schools to develop nursing and mental health programs. I represent a union of psychiatric nurses, and it really takes about an AA degree to get into that field. It would be wonderful if we had the prerequisites all the way already done in our CTE pathway programs. So when they go into the when they go into the colleges, they'll be ready.
Great. To you, Candidate Mcfadden.
Thank you. We do have some amazing programs. One of my daughters has taken part in the past in the culinary program. I would love to see us expand those programs. Some things that I think might be good options are like dental hygienist positions. There are a lot of people who are interested in those, and that's something that I think, we have local dentists. There are, there's a possibility, there's a potential there for partnerships, so I think that would be a great add, as well as electricians. I know we have carpentry, but I think adding electricians and even business management. And I think sometimes people don't necessarily look at business management as a technical career, but if all you're looking for is just to do the management side, it's not, it's not that you want to start a business. It's not that you want to be an entrepreneur, but you just want to be able to help with that business side. And I think we might have businesses in town that would partner on that.
Great. I'm gonna add a new question. Came up as we've been talking. This is an interesting time, right? As I noted to our viewers, these are area districts. This is the first time. Mm-hmm. So in your perspective, what is the benefit to our students, to our parents, to our teachers, to have area representation for the districts per se than just a general at-large member for the Washington Unified School District? And I will start with you, Candidate Mcfadden.
Thank you. I was very excited when we moved to single-member districts. And I'm very excited to be part of the first election as single-member districts. The biggest benefit, in my opinion, to the community, to the students, to the teachers, is that you're finally going to get some representation on the north side. Our existing school board members, and myself included, based on my area, live very close together. So, for Bridgeway Islands, there's 3 different areas that cover parts of Bridgeway Islands. And I think it's important to make sure that our north side schools are getting the representation. I know not everybody was a huge supporter of those or felt like we should hold off on those, but I think it was something very good for our district that helps our students be represented by somebody who understands them. And I'd love to see our city council move to that as well.
Great. Thank you. Candidate Pizzotti.
Yeah, so I think one of the great benefits about district elections is that it's truly a democratic process. I mean, you have a lot more, I think, reach and touch with the district, and you're not trying to campaign over an entire city. You're really focusing on a community, on a little smaller community. And I think that makes it a lot easier for many different people that haven't had that ability before, the resources before. So that does kind of bring in a wider swath of people that may be interested in running. So I definitely think there's some advantages to this. We'll see how this plays out, but I absolutely think that the single-member districts is certainly an improvement to democracy.
Thank you both. You answered the questions eloquently and thoughtfully and gave a lot of for all of us to consider as we move forward. Now you have an opportunity to give a closing statement. Again, you'll have a minute and a half to kind of close out your remarks this evening and let the voters, maybe leave the voters, I should say, with a lasting impression for your candidacy. And given that we started with candidate Pizzotti, let's start with you, candidate Mcfadden.
Thank you. Again, just thank you to the Chamber and everybody involved in making this happen, even if it is not the normal way. And thank you so much to the community for being there. I can't see you, but I know you're there. I was watching during the first part, and our community turned out huge. So thank you for that. I just want to close by saying I have 14 years experience as a parent, and I've spent that 14 years putting my child first. I want the opportunity to put your children first now. I have sat on several boards and coalitions and work groups in my prior work life. I've been the chair on boards. I was part of the Yuba Sutter Healthcare Council, and I sat on that board. So I do have experience sitting on boards and being part of coalitions and collaborating. Collaboration is so important, and that's what I'm looking forward to. And it really warms my heart to have learned tonight as we've talked about our priorities and the priorities of the current board, how much of mine lines up with theirs. And that really makes me feel like I could be a good fit to the board. I also have already started my work to unify our students by starting a Unity Club first at Southport and now moving it to River City High School so that there is a safe place for all students to feel welcome and accepted. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Pizzotti.
Yeah, so I want to say thank you to everyone as well. As a parent and a board member, I'm really proud of our success. We've built a vibrant educational environment which draws skilled, passionate teachers and staff. We've created innovative pathways for students, significantly increased after-school care capacity, and ensured that that support is specifically available for students who need it the most. We've created Washington Middle College High School, which allows students to simultaneously attend college. And we've created a Spanish dual immersion program at Elkhorn Elementary School and developed an explicit board agreement that all decisions will be made through a lens of equity. Now we face the impacts of COVID-19, from distance learning to shifting economic realities and parents working from home. Our world has changed more than ever. We need proven leadership, stability, experience to navigate us through this new landscape. These new challenges require a board with a cohesive vision, as we need to improve support for families, students, and teachers, modernize our antiquated facilities, and hire a new superintendent who will fit our community and continue our whole child approach. Our current board is on the same page and is dedicated to viewing these challenges through a lens of equity, and has done a tremendous job of changing the culture of WSD.
Time's up. Thank you, thank you. I want to thank both of you for being here today. I, for one, learned a lot, and I look forward to working with both of you. But most importantly, for sharing with our audience your platform and what you will bring to the Washington Unified School District. For our viewers at home, stick with us. We're going to take a quick 30-minute break. We will be back at 7 o'clock with our mayoral candidates, Christopher Cabaldon and Martha Guerrero. I really welcome and hope to see you guys there. Thank you.